As we continue our artistic adventure today, our next stop is going to bring us just outside the city of Clare, where we're going to step inside the walls of Devil's Rope Studio. It's here that sculptor Jeff Best works his magic, recreating stunning and lifelike forms found in nature using a most unlikely and prickly medium.
As a kid, I guess, I loved the outdoors. Nature's just always been part of me. And then through high school, I won a couple competitions with painting and that kind of stuff. But other than maybe every once in a while getting out a pencil and sketching, it was just not something that really that I did.
Jeff Best of Devil's Rope Studio in Clare never really thought of himself as an artist. Despite growing up in a very artistic home, he had always assumed that building his life around a creative passion just wasn't in the cards. But a spark was lit in Jeff when one day one of his kids asked for his help with a school project.
When you have kids, they have show and tell, and so one day, and I don't know why, I picked up the pair of needle nose pliers and took some hangers off my wife's out of her wife's closet and just started, twisting them up. And of course, the first thing I made was a white-tailed deer. The kids took it to school for show and tell for several years, and that was the first thing I ever made. And in my mind, I always thought it'd be kind of cool to do a large life-size deer head, but I just knew that I wasn't going to do it with coat hangers, because it was, coat hangers are pretty stout, or they used to be anyways, pretty stout. And I thought, well, I'll find something someday, and that was always in the back of my mind.
And the key to what would turn that initial idea into what we see today was found in a rather unexpected way.
We bought some property, and it was 40 acres and mostly wooded, and I was walking the property one day, and I walked up on it, and here's this barbed wire, all rusted barbed wire laying there. And I mean, instantly I thought, now that would be cool, to use the barbed wire for a deer head. Threw it in the barn, and it laid in the barn for, I would say, 3 or 4 years. And I came across that barbed wire again. I said, this winter I'm going to do that. And so that's what happened. I used that, and I still have that deer head today. It's actually hanging over my mailbox here.
With his first barbed wire creation finished, Jeff would continue working on piece after piece, along the way honing his skills along with his creative style.
Every new sculpture that I do scares me. I've always said that I've never been stumped, but doesn't mean that I don't agonize over it before I do it. This ram has been a challenge from the standpoint of its horns. I mean, they curve around, and they have a certain pattern how they curve around. This is the third iteration here of horns, and I'm still not completely satisfied with them. But that's pretty much the same that I deal with it. I've never have a piece that go out of here that I'm totally satisfied. People say, well, I strive for perfection. Well, if you really could achieve perfection, it wouldn't look like the animal, because I say you have to have some imperfection to make it look real. I try to perfect imperfections in my work so it looks real. If you look at white-tailed deer, that one antler is typically smaller than the other antler, and just because this one's got 4 points doesn't mean that this side's got 4 points. But I still struggle on putting those imperfections in, because my nature is I want it to look perfect. I want 4 on this side and 4 on that side, and I want them the same length. But then I keep on telling myself, no, it can't. You don't want them to be that way, or they won't look exactly real.
Jeff's drive to perfect the imperfect did help drive his creative passions forward. But the real turning point for him came when he was able to see how his creations could touch people in a personal and profound way.
When you get done and they see it and they go, wow, that is awesome, and you're going, whew. I know the first time that really hit me was when I did a Frisian horse. And it was a large horse. I don't know if you're familiar with Frisian, but they have long flowing manes and they're like the Fabio of the horse world, very athletic, very strong, muscular, and very graceful. And this gentleman asked me to make one, and he says, I need it to look like Oliver.
Meet Oliver, a champion Frisian horse owned by Mary and Paul Alexander of Mount Pleasant. This time, Jeff would be able to meet his muse face to face.
To that point, a horse was a horse to me, You do a horse head, and you put legs and hooves on it. You're making a horse. You're not making a specific horse, and so that was a challenge. And we delivered it actually on a Christmas morning. It was freezing cold. Put it on the trailer, wrapped it up with a white tarp, and then he had to coax his wife out of the house. It was like, I don't know, it was 20 degrees or less and freezing cold, so she wasn't even really excited about going outside. And then she went outside and we pulled that off, and she said, Oliver. I hate to see things go out my door, because I typically, when I'm doing commission stuff, I make them and they're gone, and then I'm on to the next thing. On the other side, if I know where they're going and where they're going to be, so I can maybe drive by them, that always helps a lot for me when they end up in some really cool places. For me, that's been the legacy of what I've done, and when I'm gone, that stuff will still be there. It's really important to me.